All right. So next category, surprise teams. So just want to talk about, we're a little over a quarter way through the season. So just wanted to talk about some teams. First one I want to start with is the Blazers. So they're leading their division, which is, I think most people would admit, is the worst division in the CSL. But
Southeast is.
I wouldn't. Yeah. Hey.
Really?
Come on.
Hold on, let me check. Yeah, it's close. It's close.
Dude.
So okay, so yeah, all right. So there's two bad divisions, the Northwest and the Southeast. So the Blazers are leading it without Kevin Durant, which I think is really interesting. They're playing pretty well. They don't have any wow wins, but I mean, if they're above 500 without KD now, I can only imagine when they've played an even split so far, 11 games at home, 11 games away. So it's not like they've played a ton at home versus no away games. So.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
You all right, Marcos?
I'm having so much internet connection problems. Sorry, guys.
No problem. We just moved on to some surprise teams, and we're starting with the Blazers.
Great.
So they're playing pretty well without KD. What are your guys' thoughts? Miles, we can start with you. What are your thoughts on the Blazers so far? Since they're in your division and all.
Yeah, I think a lot of people at the beginning of the year saw that this division was really mainly two really good teams, and that's the Blazers and the Jazz. And I think that it's whatever's going on in the division right now, it's affecting every team because I think everyone, except for Oklahoma City, is underperforming relative to their talent level. I think Portland won't end up winning the division, even when they get Kevin Durant back for the last month of the season, I think, because he comes back really late, doesn't he?
I'm looking it up now.
He comes
he's
back
only 40 days away.
a month.
Yeah, he'll be back in January.
So they might win the division. I think they have a real shot too. I didn't think KD was coming back till way later. So I think that's definitely a solid. They've been doing well without him, and they'll only do better with him is all I'm trying to say. Utah is going to turn it around. I don't know what or when that will happen, but there's definitely too much talent on that roster for them to be under 500. So can Portland keep the division lead? Maybe, but they're doing a better job out of the gate than I think a lot of us would have given them credit for.
Yeah, the guy I'm most surprised about is Brandon Jennings so far. So he's always been a bad shooter, and I don't think Portland's done anything different with him, but he's having a career year. He's shooting a career high 44%. Typically, he's right around or a little under 40%. The last 3 years, he's been at 40%, 39%. And 35% before that. So, but this year, he's scoring 21 points on solid efficiency. So I wasn't really expecting that. Not sure what Clisby's doing there, but that's kind of like the biggest surprise for me.
Yeah, he's playing shooting guard, and I think that was the most important change for his overall value. I think being a shooting guard means he's shooting the ball off the dribble less. He's handling the ball less. And so I think he's able to get good shots. And then with Portland, they have 4 quality scorers in their starting lineup. Mm-hmm. And so Brandon Jennings obviously getting the most shots out of the 4, but I'm willing to bet that they're a little bit better shots than what he's been used to getting in let's look at his history here. Denver. Actually, he's played for some pretty good teams, so maybe not. I think it's luck. Change my mind. It's luck. Portland's falling apart. They're screwed.
Because
hot takes.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I kind of had them left for dead after they lost DeAndre Jordan. I thought that was a huge hole. And they've got some individual talent, but I didn't think they'd be able to fit very well. Like they've got a bunch of scorers in Hayward, Jennings, Clarkson can score, and Josh Smith can score. So they've got like a lot of scores, but I didn't think they had quite enough, tertiary ratings in some of the other areas. But yeah, I mean, they've proved me wrong, and I'm really curious to see what happens when KD comes back, how well this team plays.
one thing we cannot overlook is that they have good passers everywhere. You know,
Yep.
they have Jordan Clarkson, who was a 60 passing point guard. Is not great, I know, but it's acceptable. They have Gordon Hayward, and he's 54 passing out of the small forward position, and Josh Smith, and 52 passing as well. And that allows ball movement and to create better shots, you know. And without a guy to dominate the ball like Kevin Durant, we can see a better flow for their offense. You know, they're going to get better shots, and I think that's good. That's basically helping them right now. And in my opinion, they are doing just what they needed to do. They needed to stay right around the 500% mark, you know. And once KD comes back, they have Jennings, who they can now trade for a good center if they need so. And if they don't, they just can insert KD back to the lineup and let the magic happen, you know.
I hear you. I'm with you. Tim, any other thoughts on the Blazers?
Well, honestly, it comes down to jamming, frankly. You know, Utah started off really slow. You know, they had some sub-matrix and strategy problem. I don't think Utah is going to turn around enough to win the division, honestly. I think this is going to be Portland's division, pretty much box to wire. And it really comes down to Cleesby doing a fantastic job with managing and arranging the talent he has, and Kevin having the talent he has and just way underachieving with it. So will Utah rebound in time to make a playoff spot? Yeah, that's definitely possible. But as far as winning the division, no, personally, I don't see it. But we'll see what happens. Cleesby has done a fantastic job, no doubt about that. So it will be very interesting. You know, like Marcos pointed out, all the passers and the ball movement. Does KD end up disrupting that? That may be an angle to look at. You know, will that create problems? So personally, I don't think it will. I think having KD back in the lineup will create far too many matchup problems for people, because he's really, I would put, KD, Harden, and Paul George are like the three players that are a headache to try and match up against. So no, I don't think it'll be any issue, and it'll be Portland's, like I said, box to wire.
I like it, and I kind of like your segue into the next, because the next team I want to talk about was the Jazz. So they're kind of a surprise bad team. I think a lot of us had them, especially with KD's injury, kind of running away with the division. I know I did. They're off to a 9-12 start. I know they've got some deficiencies as far as depth is concerned, but that starting lineup with Drew Holiday, Dante Exum, Nick Batum, Aaron Gordon, and DeAndre Jordan, I mean, that's got to be among the best starting lineup. So I'm really surprised to see, them sitting at 9-12. They lost a game to the Golden State Warriors. And I was looking at them trying to pinpoint, what's going wrong with this team. To me, I think it comes down to two players are really underperforming this year. Exum so far, he's a career 48% shooter. He's shooting just 43% this year. That's a pretty substantial drop-off. Not sure if it's fit issues or whatnot. They had Rubio last year. This year they've got Holiday at the point, so maybe that's messing it up. And the other guy is an even bigger bust so far for the Jazz. Batum is playing terribly for them. He's shooting under 40% from the field, and he's shooting under 30%, just a hair under 30% from three-point range.
That's key.
So that's lots of bricks from that team. Go ahead, Marcos.
I think you need Batum and Holiday to, knock down every single three-pointer available. I don't care if Batum is shooting like 40% or 41% or 39%, whatever. I think his value for them is at defense and 3-pointers. If he's shooting 3-pointers at a 36-38% clip, then he's a very good player for them. And I agree with you. Even though he's averaging like 13.5 points, he is underperforming because he's not doing what he was supposed to do in order for this team to be good. And also,
and I'm just real quick. I'm looking at his career averages from three. He's regularly shooting either in the high 30s or low 40s.
yeah.
It's like, I'm trying to pin, like, what do you think's going wrong? Is it just unlucky? Is it too small a sample size as far as his bad 3-point shooting?
I don't know. They've got some good passers as well.
Yeah.
Some guys who can create for him. Dante, Action, and Holiday. Those guys are shot creators. But at the end of the day, he hasn't been able to convert his shots. I don't know. He shot like 33% with me one time, and he was shooting like 27% at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But if Utah wants to be successful, they need Batum to shoot like 36% at least. At least, because Exum cannot shoot, Gordon cannot shoot, and DeAndre Jordan cannot shoot. And you cannot put all your hopes into Drew Holiday and expect him to shoot like 50% from deep every game and win you the game. You need that shooting aside from the defense. Otherwise, you're better trading Batum for a defense, a better defender. A guy who can press the court like Jimmy Butler or anyone like this.
Yep.
Yeah, but honestly, I think the biggest problem, and I think this is related to Batum's shooting issues, the huge drop-off they've made in passing. Honestly, sorry, Marcos, I see Drew Holiday as a shooting guard, not a point
he's
guard.
A shooting guard.
Yeah, he's not a point guard, which is why I didn't trade for him. When you look at what Utah had last year, they had Jeremy Lin, and then they had Rubio, two very high quality passing point guards.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly think that is the biggest issue, is now they've got Holiday, who doesn't have that high passing, and I think that's creating shooting problems for everybody in the lineup. So if I were Utah, I would personally go back to the drawing board, look again, and see, okay, where is a high passing point guard that we can pick up from somewhere? Because right now they don't have that. So, I would look and see, okay, what assets do I have that would be intriguing enough for, a team with a high passing point. Now, there is one team that I think Cotton would have been perfect for. Cotton would have been perfect for Utah. And
good point.
I think Kevin, I don't know if Kevin made a push for him or not, but
I know he did.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know he was upset about some trades not going through, but I have no idea who or what was involved. So
I'm not going to say
speculate. Yeah.
What was involved and who was involved, but I know there were trade discussions to bring Cotton to Utah Jazz.
Interesting.
And it didn't help. It didn't happen because the Jay Crowder deal happened.
Gotcha.
It was like real fast, a real fast deal.
I hear you. Miles, what do you think about the Jazz?
No comment, but I do want to talk about what Tim just said about passing. I think that passing might be the most overlooked rating in DDS, like, period.
Yep.
And I think that there is something to that. Now, I haven't gone in and done single player tests on all the ratings and all that stuff like some people have, but I'm willing to bet that if we took the same team and we had one version where they all had good passing ratings and one version where they all had bad passing ratings, we would see a noticeable difference, obviously in assists, but in shooting percentages. across the board, especially for the players who don't have the scoring rating to create their own shot. And so I had no idea Utah didn't have good passing ratings across the board. Obviously, losing Rubio and adding just about anyone else will decrease the average passing rating of the team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that's something that we all kind of take for granted is important. Being able to get the ball to your teammates in the right position is important. We all look at handle because that directly ties to turnovers, and everyone hates turnovers. But I think passing is more important than we give it credit for. And I think that we will consistently see teams that have bad passing ratings are going to be among the disappointing teams.
Yeah, it's a good point. I haven't really – I mean, Drew Holiday's passing rating is 77. Raw, that looks okay. Maybe some of his other ratings, like his IQ is a little lower, things of that sort. But, yeah, no, that's an interesting – so I'm in the camp. So Tim had mentioned if he were the Jazz, he would recommend – going back and looking for a different point guard. That's certainly an option. I'm sure. Obviously, Kevin's looked into that if he's, looked at acquiring Cotton. I mean, I kind of think they're kind of blowing the ship up a little too fast.
Yeah,
they've already started. They've already started to play better as of late. I'm never a fan of selling low on players, which is I feel like if Kevin's trying to trade some of his guys, now's the worst time to try to do it.
Yeah.
But, it looks like he's got his mind set up on making a trade. Now we'll see if he can pull one off. But what were you going to say, Marcus?
No, I just agree with you. I think it's too early to
blow it up.
To call it a season and say it won't match or whatever. They won't get better. I think they'll be better. I think once Kevin finds the appropriate strats, they're going to look much better than they are right now. And this team has too much talent. It's just too much talented, And one thing I think, look at the defensive ratings of all these players.
Mm-hmm.
I know they are not performing well offensively. They are shooting 44% from the field as a team. But they're allowing 103.5 points per game. That's a lot when you consider that 3 of those players have 80s in defense and the other 2 has 70s, So all of them have good blocking and good stealing ratings. So there's something wrong with their defense. It's not basically necessarily their offense.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. So I think Cotton would have been interesting if they had acquired him. I think it would have been a great fit as far as, increase their passing rating and whatnot. And he would definitely get the ball to Exum and Gordon, who are their main scorers, even get it out to Batum too, and maybe see their percentages rise. But the only thing I'd be worried about with that one, if they had acquired, is while Cotton can shoot the 3, I think he only averages like 1 or 2 attempts or something like that. He really doesn't shoot a lot. So I feel like that team, with Cotton in place of Holiday, I feel like that team would have been zone worthy from a lot of teams, especially come playoff time when teams are starting to game plan for certain teams. But so that's I feel like we've probably talked about the Jazz a decent amount. So we can move on to the next one. This one to me is the biggest surprise. Maybe not to everybody, but this is the Grizzlies are 12-5, and they are 12-2 their last 14 games. So they started out 0-3, not doing well. They're 12-2 since. They beat us. The Suns. Only 2 teams have done it, and they've also beat the Mavs. So they beat the top 2 teams in the West. Middleton obviously leading the way, but what do you guys think is the secret for the Grizzlies' hot start this year?
They
Middleton?
just got better players. And fuck Christian Wood for dicking me around. Oh, signing houses and oh ha ha ha, the Kings didn't match. Yeah, fuck you too, asshole. That's why you suck in real life. But
Tim is not pleased with Christian Wood.
No. I was actually mad at him when he declared for the draft IRL. I was like, you stupid idiot. You're not going to get drafted. If you do, it's going to be in the second round. Sure enough, that's what happened.
Probably why I didn't sign with you. He knew about that. He saw your anger, and he's like, all right, well, screw you too then. There you go, Tim. Mystery solved.
Yep, there you go. But no, seriously, adding Wood was huge. I'm not sure how much Middleton has developed in camp, but, just the training camp boost. And, and here's the thing, the Grizzlies have always been a playoff capable team. Andre just kind of stealthed or not so stealth,
not very stealthy by playing.
They basically tanked
forwards
last
at
year.
point guard.
Yeah, they tanked last year and dropped out of the playoffs. So it's a very good GM. He knows his stretch. He knows his tactics. So am I surprised? Not really, to be honest. They've made the upgrades, the improvements to be able to do the things that they're doing right now.
Yeah, I like the Wood addition. The Wood addition, like you mentioned, he seems to be playing really well. He's scoring 14 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks. So he can kind of score, rebound, and block. So that was a huge addition. The Middleton addition, or the Middleton improvement, as far as from last year, this year. So I was looking at their team. I was wondering how Middleton is averaging 32 minutes a game with his terrible discipline rating, which I think it's 49. It's really low. But so I was trying to figure out
52.
52. Okay,
yeah.
So it's really low, and it looks like he's got Middleton slated to play all 48 minutes of every single game. So even if he gets in foul trouble in the first half, I guess he's hoping that he makes up for it, in the second half by just playing every single minute. So I thought that was interesting. It's pretty clever. I was talking to Brett about that earlier, and he doesn't like it because there's certain games obviously that Middleton plays like 40 minutes a game, and Brett seems to think that might lead to some injuries, but because they play a pretty high pressure defense. I think they're somewhere in the top 5 as far as team steals. They're way up there. So I was like, if they're playing high pressure defense, how is Middleton staying in? And that seemed, maybe that's something that other people can do that have, discipline issue guys. Just slate them to play all 48 minutes and hope they just go for a stretch without some fouls. But Miles, what do you think about the Grizz?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it smells a little unsustainable. Middleton's shooting is ridiculously high right now. Christian Wood is above his career averages, and I think Christian Wood was always going to be a little bit of an efficiency problem. I don't think he has the highest shooting ratings, if I remember correctly. So I think those two things are going to regress a little bit. And then once Julius Randle comes back, there's still 2 months until that happens, but how Andre juggles the minutes between Amir Johnson, Cody Zeller, Kevon Looney, Christian Wood, and Julius Randle, all 5 of those guys who are deserving of playing time, that'll be interesting too. And that could be a good thing. It could also be a bad thing for them. But I think Tim said this earlier. Andre is really good at knowing what strategies to play, how to play certain players. There's guys in this league and their strength is trading. There are other guys whose strength is drafting, and then there's guys whose strength is coaching. I think Andre is really good at coaching.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's hard to disagree. He's got a lot of guys overplaying. Like you said, they're like Wood shot 42.5% last year, 42.3% the year before that, and 43.8% the year before that, and this year he's shooting 47.7. So I'm not sure, if it's his strategies or if he's just playing above his head right now. They're only 17 games in, so like you said, he might come back down to earth. But He's got a very talented team. Like you mentioned, all the forwards that he's got between Amir Johnson, Cody Zeller. He's even got Kevin Looney, who's, if I remember correctly, was a pretty solid prospect. He was just very raw, but he's going to have to get him minutes if he wants to develop them. And
Yes.
then Julius Randle coming back and Christian Wood. So maybe he's got some trades worked out to, bring in some more wing and guard depth. But yeah, I really like this team. Marcos, what do you think?
I'll keep it short this time because I really like Andre's work right there with the Grizzlies, but I'll try to I don't know, resume this. I forget the word. To summarize this into two factors.
Mhm.
First factor is that Christian Wood, I love this kid. He is exactly like Tristan Thompson from Detroit, who is one of the keys for Detroit's success. And he has always been one of the keys to their success, And
Mhm.
Wood has been having the exact same impact, except that he has better shot blocking, So you don't need another shot blocker right next to him, so he can play next to Julius Randle. And the other thing is that Chris Middleton, this guy should have been the number one overall pick because he's ready to play. He is extremely efficient. He impacts the game so many ways. He's great defensively. And I'll tell you why. He's shooting like 52% right now. And those are sustainable numbers. I'm not going to be impressed if Middleton ends up the year shooting like 55%, to be honest.
Wow.
Because he was designed to be the ultimate efficient player, So that's basically what describes him. And he is more talented than Kristaps Porzingis. And he the only thing was the DI rating, and Andre found a way to get around it, So basically, you have the very best player of the draft right there. You just need to know how to utilize him, and Andre is doing that to the very best of them,
Sure. Yeah. So you like that pickup that they made? Pick up Chris Middleton from the Wiz.
No, I think that trade was just trading Gary Harris and Drake Crowder. Those two guys are very good players, but Middleton he's on another level.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the guy that can lead a team, not because he has huge scoring, but because he's very, very, very efficient.
Yeah.
On that note, guys, I got to jump, but it's been great, as always, being on the Choke City podcast. And Marcos, I look forward to joining you on Luck City podcast or Clutch City podcast.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Miles.
Always real.
Yep.
Thank you,
All right,
Miles. See ya.
All right. So the last surprising team that I want to talk about was the Pacers. So I know they've got a lot of talent on their team, but they're so young that at least I thought they were going to take at least another year or two to develop some of their guys. They're 15-5. They played 10 home games, 10 away games, so it's a pretty even split. Now I'm looking at their schedule. They haven't played a ton of, played and beaten, I should say, a ton of great teams, but they did just beat the Cavs on the road. That's a great win. I'm not sure I think Blake might have been looking now. Yeah, Blake didn't play in that game, so maybe so maybe it doesn't look quite as good as it did, but still, they're looking good. They're beating the teams they're supposed to, which, I think is a lot to say for the younger teams. And it looks like Draymond Green's playing pretty well for him. He's playing 30 minutes despite his awful DI ratings. So to me, that's more than I thought he was going to be able to play. You got George DePaul is playing pretty well for him. Kiefer Sykes might be, their most important player. He's a guard shooting 49%, and he's scoring 17 points.
Yeah,
Two
I
steals.
I so wanted to draft Sykes during that year. Was that the first year or the second year?
He's going to be an RFA next year, so that was
It was
4 years
TJ
ago.
McConnell's draft.
Oh fuck. Yeah. Yeah, Sykes is a guy I loved. I really wanted to draft. He had that University of Wisconsin Division III connection. Division One. Playing out of UW Green Bay. So I wanted the home state guy. I loved his shooting ratings. I loved his scoring ability.
Mhm.
The only thing that kept me from drafting him is his really shitty handles ratings.
Yep.
Which scared the shit out. Oh, and he also had major consistency issues. If I remember right, when I interviewed him, it was really I got the low end of the stick. So, but yeah, and Maddie knows I have been trying to get Sykes repeatedly over the years that Sykes has been in the league. And one thing though, as you were listing off those names, they have managed to accumulate high draft pick players. Indiana has that haven't busted.
Yeah.
And that is so huge. They're essentially like what Golden State is doing with collecting all these high pick players, except in Indiana's case, the players are working out and the team is reaching what they're capable of, unlike Golden State, who I still don't know what is up with them. But I think we can't overlook that Maddie has done an absolutely fantastic job of trading and being able to acquire those sort of high-level picks who, for some reason, teams just gave up too early on, I think. So,
Yeah, I really like their trades. They traded Blake to the Cavs and got DePaula, Green, Zuki. I think those are three key guys. Zuki's injured right now, but you're looking at those three guys. They might have gotten somebody else. Did they get Inglis also from the Cavs? They might have.
Yes.
So they got that one. That was a big one. And then when they traded Klay Thompson and got the pick that ended up becoming Karl Anthony Towns, and I think they got something else out of the trade. Maybe not. But you look at those two trades, and they're kind of set up to be good for a really long time with their core players. Kiefer Sykes, I'm with Tim. I remember scouting him, loving his shooting ratings, loving his scoring, but so he's more of an inside scorer, so he was going to have to drive to the basket and whatnot.
Yeah.
He doesn't have much deep shooting, and I was afraid with his terrible handles, which for a guard, 47 is awful. I was afraid he was going to turn it over so much because he's going to have to drive in order to get those points. This year, his turnovers are up a little bit. They're up to 2.6. It looks like in years past, they're just a hair under 2. But his usage it looks like his usage is up this year. But it looks like he's outplaying, those turnover numbers. Like I said, he's shooting 49% this year, which for a guard is just incredible. So, yeah, I really like what the Pacers are doing here. What do you think, Marcos?
Yeah, I really like what they're doing as well. Matty, he had the guts to trade Blake Griffin when they were like leading the division, and they were like a great team overall, and they didn't have these year's pick, but at the end of the day, it paid off. And they have a very young, great team that's going to develop even more. And at the end of the day, I think they could. I don't know if this prediction this year is sustainable, but I think from next year on, we're going to see a very, very, very good Indiana Pacers team.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically like who the Kings were early on, except they have their superstar. They have their superstar already in Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah,
and they have a very good player, the injured DePaula.
Yep.
We cannot overlook him. He's averaging 16, 5.5 boards, 7 assists, 1.5 steals per game. And he's doing it.
Triple-double threat. Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing it at very good efficiency numbers. He's still got potential, and he's what, 21 years old. So, man, he could be even better. He could become even better, and that's a very good player. Very good. A matchup problem for the other point guards because he's big, he's strong, he can board, he can play make, he can score, he can defend, he can do it all.
Yeah, DePaula was the player I most wanted in that draft. I wanted DePaula so badly, but then we got screwed in the lottery like we always do. And then there was the question when DePaula first came in. He's super raw. Is he going to develop enough to become everything that he's capable of? Because we've seen some guys with that potential who just flat out bust. They get the playing time, and then they don't develop. They never reach their ratings. And
like Bruno Caboclo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say this. I will say I'm glad that I do not play in the Central Division, which to me I think is the strongest division. You got John's Pistons, you got the defending reigning champs and the Bulls. The Pacers look like they're going to be good for the next decade. And you got the Cavs with Kyrie, Blake, and company there. Poor Manu with the Milwaukee Bucks. They're going to have...
we have a fifth very good GM that is Manu, but his team isn't there yet.
He's got a bit of a road, but he's in a tough division. All the GMs in that division look like quality GMs, so it's not going to be easy. But I'm sure he likes the challenge.
Yeah.
So how are you guys looking on time? As far as, can you guys keep talking or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good. So
okay.
I can say for like 15 minutes or so.
Okay. All right. So. Next, I just want to talk a little bit about maybe some early season awards. Since we're about a quarter way into the season, feel free to talk about some of the ones that I don't bring up. But I want to start with Rookie of the Year. Do you guys have anyone jump out at you guys? I was looking. It looks like it's anyone's race. No one's really standing out, especially not the top guys, Karl Anthony Towns, Chris Dunn, Azonia's barely doing much.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Winslow. I think he's leading the league in points, but his shooting percentage is atrocious. What do you guys think as far as shaping up for the Rookie of the Year?
Well, I'd say Justice Winslow is leading the race right now because of his defensive numbers, not because of his offense. But it's a pretty wide open race right now. Chris Dunn has a lot of untapped potential to display, especially now that Bryce Cotton is out of Golden State, so he'll be able to dominate the ball a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And this will allow him to showcase his game more. And to me, he remains the favorite among every player to be the Rookie of the Year. But right now, it's Winslow's prize to be taken,
So you're saying right now, if you had to vote, you'd vote Winslow?
Yeah, because of his defensive numbers. His defensive numbers are amazing right now. 2.2 steals a game.
Yep.
He has 1.4 blocks a game in 31 minutes per game. It's not like he's playing like 40 minutes to get to those numbers. Mm-hmm. Of course, he's shooting 32%, but it's a rookie player averaging over 2 steals and over a block a game. You don't see that very often, even for a shitty team. Sorry, Andrew.
Nope. What about you, Tim? You got any?
Go ahead, Doug. I'll be with you guys shortly.
Sure. So I mean, like I was saying, I'm looking at the league leaders as far as, because I honestly think a lot for Rookie of the Year. a lot of it is your volume stats. And it looks
Yeah.
like Winslow's leading. Yeah, he is scoring points on atrocious numbers, but he is scoring points. Chris Dunn's not too far behind. I've kind of got as a dark horse Travion Graham for the New Orleans Pelicans.
Let me take a look at his numbers.
Yeah, he's shooting a little over 11 points a game on really good efficiency.
Yeah, and great defensive numbers as well. It's a guy playing 22 minutes per game. So
yeah, he's only playing 22 minutes a game. So I wonder if, Jason knows what he's doing. He's
But remember the discussion we have that a player must have the good-looking numbers, but he's got to have lots of playing time to put that good-looking numbers as well. Nobody's going to take into account that a player is averaging 20 points per game per 36 minutes. He has to play those 36 minutes, and a guy playing 22 minutes per game. But in order to win a Rookie of the Year award, he has to play more. I think he's ready to play more based on the numbers he's playing.
That was going to be my next question. If you think, Jace might look at his numbers and think, he deserves more minutes. Maybe minutes over Courtney Lee.
Where he's going to play, because Courtney Lee is their best defender. Their best perimeter defender. Actually, is their only perimeter stopper. So where is he going to play?
So you're right, he's got better perimeter defense. Graham blocks a little better, and his steals are a little higher. His rebounds are higher. So he does bring a lot of stuff. If you want to keep with Courtney Lee, because he does shoot well, even though he doesn't shoot much, he does shoot well, and his perimeter defense is really good.
Yeah.
That's up for James to decide. But to me, Travion Graham's looking great. I'd almost increase his minutes, see how he does with more minutes. But to me, he's really impressed.
If you put Chandler Parsons at the 4, I don't know if Jace is doing that already. But if you give Parsons,
I don't think so, because right now he's got Howard and Davis.
Yeah.
Maybe if he trades Howard or something. But I know he does like to put Davis in the 4. He used to have Davis at the 5, so I don't know if he would move Parsons.
He needs to move Davis to the 5 a little bit in order to back up Dwight Howard and to split minutes with Howard at the 5. So Parsons can play the 4, Ariza can play the 3, and then it makes sense to put Graham a little bit more, because Ariza is there for defense.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree. So, I just really like Graham's potential. I think if he were playing 30 minutes a game, not even 36, if he were just playing 30 minutes a game, I think he'd be running away with it. Just looking at his numbers, he's averaging over a steal, even though it's only 22 minutes. He's shooting 49% overall, 49% from 3 on nearly 4 attempts a game. So this isn't on 1 attempt a game. So he's shooting really well from deep, shooting really well overall. His defensive numbers look fine. 71% stop percentage. Looks like a 0.9 points against per shot face. So those are fine. For me, I'm a guy that I like efficiency. I don't just like volume stats. I know that a lot of people just look at, this guy's got the most points, the most steals. To me, Winslow is just so bad on the offensive end, at least right now. Maybe his shot can be fixed, but right now he's so bad on the offensive end that he would be barely playing at all for me, even though his defense is so good.
Yeah, but we had that conversation. And it's just hard to overcome those numbers when some of those guys don't have the time, don't put the effort to look at stats or more than the raw numbers they see. So it's hard to. I mean, I'm making the predictions based on what I think the other players, the other GMs will vote. You know.
Sure. Yep. Totally makes sense. Tim, you back with us? Nope, doesn't sound like Tim's back. All right,
No.
so let's move on to the next category. I have most improved. So to me, it at least was, kind of a 2-horse race. See what I'm talking about in a second. I have 3 guys, but to me, it was kind of a 2-horse race until one of them went down with an injury. We'll see. We'll see what they are.
I have 3 guys as well. Who are you guys?
All right, so my guys are Middleton.
Yeah, he's in my list as well.
To me, he's leading the way.
Yeah, me too.
Number 2 for me was Joel Embiid. Now, he did just break his wrist, but right up until he broke his wrist, which, just happened.
He's playing well. He's playing very good.
Especially compared to what he was. He's averaging 16 points, over 7 rebounds, 1.8 blocks. He's only playing 25 minutes. I don't know if that's by design or if he's just not playing. But, the numbers he's putting up in just 25 minutes, he's also shooting 55% from the field. So those points are very efficient.
Yeah, compared to 44 last year.
Yep.
Yeah, his numbers look much better indeed.
So, it was a real shame that he got injured. Looking at the sub matrix, it looks like he just subbed him out. Because I'm curious to see how many minutes he was trying to play. Because I don't know why, especially because he's playing so well, why he was only playing 25 minutes a game.
But he wasn't on my list. He wasn't one of the players figured in my list.
Okay.
My list had who was your last man?
My last guy was Draymond Green.
Draymond Green. He wasn't in my list as well. But he's doing a much better job than last year.
Okay, testing. Am I in?
Sounds like Tim is back.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just to bring it back to Rookie of the Year a minute.
Sure.
Based on how he's doing at point guard, I'm going to be a homer and throw in McCaw as a dark horse.
I was hoping to ask you about that. So yeah, I'm glad you came back. So because we were mentioning how it's kind of it's a really open race with a lot of these guys. No one's really running away from it. So, and I know you just put out an article on McCaw. So I wonder if, he's played 21 games so far. Do you think putting him at point guard might be able to get him Rookie of the Year award?
It will be an outside shot. To be honest, we need a bigger sample size. But one thing I noticed is his shot attempts overall and his point production, his efficiency, all shooting way up as a result of the position change. And it reminded me of something. Dennis and I actually got into a little bit of an argument about this because we remember we were discussing passing ratings earlier.
Yep.
And I said how critical that was. He takes the exact opposite view and says passing rating isn't that important. And he made the argument that with a high passing rating, a point guard will take fewer shots than expected. Well, obviously McCaw passes not at all, yet he's still managing to get assists, which is weird. But a lot of McCaw point guard doesn't make sense, and it's weird and it's awesome. So McCaw doesn't pass at all. So that may be part of the reason. Not only is he getting more touches because point guards get the most, but he doesn't pass, so then he shoots. So maybe.
What was the first game? So I'm looking at his game log. What was the first game that he played point guard? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was. I think it was against Boston where he had 18 points. Game 2 was the 25-point player of the game one.
Yep.
And then he had 14 points against Houston, I think, and then 2 points because he had foul trouble and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then I think the last game it was somewhere between 11 and 14 points. I don't remember the exact number.
He got 12 points in that one, but looks like he did struggle turning the ball over. But it looks like that's the only game that he really, played poorly at the point guard position. The others, well, the one you mentioned, he was in foul trouble, but the previous 3, the Rockets, the Magic, and the Celtics, He played well. He shot well. Like he said, he got some assists. He was getting some steals. He got 4 steals against the Magic. So he's playing some solid defense on that one. So I'm curious to see, if we come back in a couple months and he's had a longer sample size at point guard, if, we are talking about him in, Rookie of the Year award, especially because, he's not far off. Right now, the leading rookie in points is 11.7, and that's Winslow. So he's only about 3.5 points off right now. But I wonder if when he gets moved to point guard, like you said, he'll take more shots. He'll look, he'll get more touches. If his stock will go up, his points will go up enough to get him at least, in the discussion for Rookie of the Year.
Right.
So, all right. Did you have anything else to add as far as Rookie of the Year? If you had to vote right now, is there anyone that pops into your head as far as?
Well, frankly, I'm going to agree with Marcos and say that because most GMs don't even bother digging into efficiency.
Yep.
Winslow will probably win Rookie of the Year as things stand right now. It's basically going to be Jabari Parker winning in the first year all over again. Where I'm still pissed about that. Tavares should have won Rookie of the Year. Where they'll just look at the stats and points will have the highest priority, and then most GMs don't even look at efficiency. So they'll go, "Oh, Winslow leading in points and steals. Vote for him."
Yep.
And I think that's what it's going to be. It's a shame that it pans out that way, and it drives me nuts. But yeah.
I think you're bringing good points. I wonder if, because I know a lot of people have complained towards the end of the season, especially when they're voting, they don't know who to vote for, and there's so much information that they just go look up league leaders and they just kind of vote that way. So I wonder if maybe there was some more media towards the end of the season. Someone like highlighted, hey, these should be your top 5 candidates for this award. These should be your top 5 candidates for this award, and then go from there. Maybe the voting will get better. I'd like to think so. But
at the same time, you have to have a person who is going to write without giving his own opinion, because we don't want, if we're going to have it, if we're going to have someone writing about,
it's got to be unbiased.
Look,
sure.
Those 5 players are the players contending for MVP, but he cannot give his opinion or everything else. He cannot influence the others. You're
right. Yeah, it's going to definitely have to be someone that's.
Yeah, it's hard to do. It's very hard to do.
Well, the thing is, I personally, I don't think that would have any effect, because remember the first season, maybe the first 2 seasons, I don't remember who it was, but somebody was consistently creating that spreadsheet of all the rookies.
Yeah, I remember.
That was me.
And you color coded them.
Yep.
And, it was still, the voting was like, people were just going for like the stats and everything, even with all that fantastic work he did with the spreadsheets and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was because I remember making that. And yeah, I'd color code like dark green if they were doing really well in that category, especially compared to the other rookies. And I listed everything, like not just points, rebound, assists. I listed like stop percentage, like drive stop rate, your points against,
shooting percentage.
I had all that stuff, and we still had Jabari Parker win the award. So that's a good point from Tim. Okay, let's move on to the next category, this is the one that we just started right before you hopped into, and we were talking about most improved player.
Yeah.
So I think we talked about Middleton a lot. To me, he's top guy on my list. We already talked about him a lot from the Grizzlies, so I won't touch upon him too much.
Yep.
I had Embiid as my number 2. Now, he did just go down with an injury, but for what he was putting up with the Golden State Warriors, putting up 16 points, 7.5 rebounds, 1.8 blocks, and this is in just 25 minutes a game. I'm not positive why he was only playing 25 minutes a game. I don't know if he's fouling out or what the deal is there, if it's by design. But I'd have to ask Jeff on that one. But he's also shooting 55%, so he's shooting well. He was scoring well. It seemed like he was doing really well for the team. Unfortunately, he just broke his hand. But it literally just happened, so that was unfortunate for him. That was my number 2. And number 3 was Draymond Green. This is another guy we talked about a little bit about with the Indiana Pacers. But he's up across the board as far as points. His efficiency's up. His minutes are up, so that's good. His rebounds are up. His assists are up. He's basically up across the board in both efficiency and scoring. Now, he's not a guy that's going to score you 15, 20 points very often. He's only averaging 8 points a game. But he's a guy, I think I saw someone mention it. It might have been Maddie, but like he could be the first guy that has like a 5x5 game where like, you know, he'll score like 5+ points, 5+ assists, 5+ rebounds. He can get steals and blocks. He's averaging 1.5 steals, 1.8 blocks. So he's a really unique player. And I just really like what he's doing with Indiana. So that was my top 3. Marcos said he also had Middleton, but he hasn't given his other 2 yet. So if you want to go from there.
I had Kiefer Sykes at second.
Another Pacer. Yep.
Yeah, yes. A different Pacer because he's scoring very well. He's been just fantastic. We've talked about him already, you know, and I think, in my opinion, he deserves some recognition. And also, I was looking at the Boston Celtics and asking myself, hey, how did they improve that much if their star isn't playing at all? And I looked at Fuquan Edwin. I don't know how to say his name, sorry. But that's a guy who went from a bench role in Cleveland, you know, in 2017, 2 years from now. And he stepped up in Boston, and now he's starting. Last year, he was a reserve. Now he's starting. He's playing only 1 minute, one more minute, and his field goal percentage has been like 7 points better, 7 percentage points better. He's shooting well. He's shooting 50% from the field. He's scoring better. He's rebounding. He's assisting. He's defending. He's doing everything they need in order to win. You know, everything they need from him. Whatever it's scoring. It's scoring, he's going to score. It's rebounding, he's going to rebound. He's a very good defender, very competent. He's averaging 1.5 steals, almost 1.4, you know. So that's a guy who deserves some recognition. Is he going to win it? No, because his numbers aren't as flashy as Middleton. And also Middleton is leading a team, while Edwin is complementing a team. But at the end of the day, those 2 guys are playing very, very, very well, much better than last year, and deserve some recognition in my view.
I agree, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they're both 15-5, and they have some of the.
But
most
if I had to name a top 5, I probably am forgetting about someone, but I think my 3 guys plus your 2 different guys as well. That will be my top 5.
What about you, Tim? Any guys stand out as far as most improved?
Yeah. I honestly, Middleton's gonna win it. There's nobody else who can even compare. So really, what we're doing is we're talking about the guys who will take second and third. But yeah, personally, I love Sykes. I would probably have him as my number 2. A guy we haven't talked about, and I better start playing on osmosis. Wait, no, never mind. Never mind. It was last year he took the big leap, not this year. I'm surprised Walter Tavares didn't win Most Improved Player of the Year last year. He went up almost.
He did win it last year.
Oh, he did? Okay.
No, I said who did. I don't remember who did.
I don't either.
I don't remember. Let me check. Continue talking. I'll search for it.
So, yeah. So what were you saying, Tim?
Yeah, I was going to say Tavares because I thought this was the year he made the big leap, but it was last year he did.
Yeah, last year he was like a 2011 guy.
Yeah, which was I was like, why the fuck didn't you do that with me, you asshole?
Some of it I think has to be fit because you see some guys go from one team to another and they just look like a completely different player. Like
yeah,
I don't because
yeah.
There you go. The most improved players was Stanley Johnson Jr.
Stanley Johnson
and Tavares didn't even figure at the top 5.
Wasn't even top 5. Interesting.
Yeah, he got one first place vote, and that was it.
It's probably Tim.
No, I don't even remember. I can never remember who, but I think there's 2 awards. You know, just while we're on the subject, I'm trying to find the third guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 awards that are really media dependent, and that's one we're talking about now. That's Most Improved Player of the Year, and it's Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those categories are a bitch to research.
Yeah.
So you're basically you're taking a look at the finalists that the committee puts together. You're looking at it going, okay, I'm just gonna pick random guys off this list because I don't have the time to dig through and see, okay, who was actually the best sixth man, who was actually the most improved, who's gotten the most media attention. And I think that plays a huge role in how people vote for those players.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Like I think MVP, most people, as long as you're semi-active, you're pretty cognizant of who's the MVP just by reading, sim results and stuff like that. Sixth man is especially tough because some people have guys starting on the bench, but they're still playing like 30 plus minutes.
Yeah.
And their GM still push them for sixth man of the year. To me, I feel like a sixth man should be someone that's averaging more around like 25 minutes a game. Because if you're averaging over 30 minutes a game, you're basically a starter, in my opinion. So I almost think you're kind of circumventing, the true, like what the award's supposed to represent, like a guy, leading the second unit sort of thing. But no, you're definitely right. Like sixth man and most improved is definitely, because for the most improved, when I was trying to figure out mine, other than Middleton came to mind right away. The other 2 that I had, between Green and Embiid, I had to look up each team individually. And you're right. I'm sure I missed some. Like I like Kiefer Sykes. Who's the other guy you mentioned, Marcos?
Fuquan
Edwin. Like, yeah, I totally missed him too. But I'm looking at his stats and he's looking good. It's almost worth it just to write a media and then see what people write in the comments, because a lot of times GMs will go to bat for their own, their own players. So and then look up those individually. Okay,
this is just a grabbing the first guy that I thought looked interesting. This is going to be ironic because I hated on this guy last year in the draft, but Hassan Whiteside.
Oh, wow.
He's gone from 8.4, 7.7, 2.3, 53%. This year he's at 10.4 points, 9.5 rebounds, 2.5 blocks, and 58% field goal shooting.
Yep.
So in his second season alone, he's turned into a 10, 2.5 guy, which is phenomenal.
Valuable. Yep.
Yeah. So I'll throw him out there as someone to consider as a dark horse for getting MVP votes. Most improved player votes.
Yep. No, I like him. I didn't even consider him. No, I didn't look up his rookie stats from last year, but I remember he played well in the playoffs last year. So maybe that was part of, part of the reason why I didn't consider him making a huge leap. But, your stats are, kind of speak for themselves. So he went from a guy that was, he was averaging like 8, 7, and 2.3, and now he's averaging 10.5, 9.5, and 2.5. That's pretty substantial.
When I'm searching for MIP candidates, I just try to search and find the guys that are making some kind of leap, some kind of progress. Either
Right.
a guy that is playing better without necessarily having more minutes or without necessarily having an expanded role at his team, or either a guy like this who is Fuquan Idwan, he fits this bill because he had the very same role last year, but this year he's doing it better.
Yep.
Or a guy that is trying to move on from scoring like 18 to start scoring like 23 to 25 a game, like Middleton is doing. I try to look at those kinds of guys, and to me, I hadn't seen Hassan Whiteside until now, but he's slowly doing that jump from a good, not great big man to a great and very consistent big man who you can count every day, every night to give you a double and to be that defensive presence.
And what I also found interesting, his minutes are up a little over 7 minutes a game, yet his turnovers are actually down from 1.6 to 1.5, despite the uptick in minutes, which I was like, wow, that's huge.
It's big. Yep, that's big. Yeah, Whiteside's good, and he did make Miles's top 100 list over Porzingis, so I know Brett was upset about that, but yeah.
I think it's more because Dallas has that much talent, and Porzingis cannot find his place at Dallas and his shooting numbers. He cannot shoot that much in Dallas. Then specifically because Hassan Whiteside is better than Porzingis overall, but of course it was. In my view, I didn't have Porzingis in my list, in my top 100 list as well. So,
sounds like we lost Marcos on that one.
Yep.
He'll be back in. He's been doing this all podcast.
Yep.
So,
guys?
Marcos is back.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
I was just saying, I agree with Miles at the rankings,
Yeah. No, Whiteside is definitely outplaying Porzingis at this point. I feel like if you were asking Brett off the record, honestly, I think he'd agree with it. He's not going to admit that on the record, of course. But I do know the Porzingis, though, was like pretty raw. So in a couple of years, this could be a different argument. But for right now, Whiteside seems to be the better player.
Sorry. So guys, that's it to me. I gotta go because.
All right. Honestly, I think that's a good spot to end. So, like, thank you guys for coming on the second edition. I'd love to have you guys on in the future, and I'm sure I'll be reaching out. So awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Doug.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you, team.
Yep.
Have a good one, guys.
Yep.